This episode of Zero Lives is brought to you by The Punishing Beast, a short story chronicling Santa's unfortunate encounter with his counterpart Krampus. Available on Amazon now. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Zero Lives, episode 36, recorded December 28th, 2015. I'm your host, as always, Christian. Tonight, more and more Destiny. Ended up wrapping up everything I could do single player wise on the Titan. I know I've been griping and moaning about that a hell of a lot, but I actually sat down and did the research. There are no further quests available to me that I can take on solo. It'd be a matter of finding a fire team. So I'm going to pursue that a little bit on my own, see if we can turn anything up. If so, fantastic. We'll do a little bit of coverage, but probably not anything on a live show. As such, there's not any other games in my library right now that I think warrant broadcasting right now. There are things like, I have Titanfall and Battlefront, but it's not captivating watching me make the same moves over and over again on the same, dozen maps at most. So it's a matter of, what content can we explore? And right now I think Destiny is going to be the one that's a little most right for it, even though the story content for year one was kind of weak as far as how it was presented. But, they really cleaned it up with the year two stuff. So I've gotten my Warlock up to level 20, and that's what we're going to be getting into tonight is some of that story content. I've already started on the House of Wolves. I think I only have... Actually... Oh no, I started up House of Wolves. I wrapped up the Dark Below. That's what we did. So, let's go ahead and get into the skies. But as far as the content is concerned, I would like to, get back into the Nightfalls and possibly some of the raids. So if anyone wants to team up one night, Titan's at, about 297 now? So, should be good. Otherwise, where are we headed? Okay, so we're going to do a mix of single player, or not single player, but a House of Wolves and main story here. I would like to stick with the Titan as my primary, but the Warlock has definitely proven to be a lot of fun. I did go ahead when Taken King came out, players got a free character boost up to 25, which gets you into the entrance of... We'll let Ghost wrap up his spiel here.
He's commanding them from a network of caves up in the cinders. If we want to keep the Academy's secrets safe, we should push into their lair and take him out.
So as I was saying, when Taken King came out, characters got a free level boost up to 25, which got you into the Taken King's content. The Titan still wasn't max level, but I had always been intrigued by the Hunter, so I went ahead and rolled one up and then used the character boost on her. I like the class, but I'm not very good with it. Especially after playing the Voidwalker Titan for so long, the Hunter is extremely squishy to me. I have a very hard time keeping her alive. So, just to roll out and get the third character slot filled up, I did create a Warlock, deleted him for reasons we're not going to go into, and then created another one. The Titan, the Warlock is, I think, the closest we're going to get to like a crowd control class, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. It definitely feels powerful, similar to like how a mage would in other games. He's just as squishy, but I think he has more survivability than the Hunter does. at least I'm able to take on more mobs. But it could be because of that, the AoE abilities present with it. Now, I did go with the, I think they call it the Flamecaller subclass. So it's strictly about damage, but what's interesting is his ultimate, I guess, you know, the third ability, isn't an ability per se that, you know, like when my Titan uses his, it will call down a shield that, you know, you can hide in, and it has a bunch of other bonuses. With my Warlock, what he'll do is it effectively increases the potency and recharge rate of my other two skills.
That's gotta be the way into their lair.
So, it's weird. I'm having a lot of fun with it, but it's definitely taking some getting used to. The other thing that's really screwing me up is the double jump. He doesn't control the same way that I would expect it to. Like Titan, I expect to just kind of pop up like I did there. But more often than not, the Warlock seems to hover. So it's disjointing. Oops. You'll see here, you know, I'm using an auto rifle. I would really like a hand cannon. At bare minimum, go with a pulse rifle, but I'm just not getting anything in the item drops that allow me to use those weapons. But otherwise, I'm able to solo content almost easier than I had with the Titan, simply for the ability to kill things a lot easier, because I'm not playing a defensive class, so I can go ahead and use those extra skills, and it really gets me out of a pinch. Although I am really curious to see what the third subclass can do as far as the Emperor Palpatine ultimate, where you just run around shooting lightning everywhere. Otherwise, you know, I'll probably get this one up as high as I can get it, and then, you know, if we don't have Destiny 2 or Year 3 content by then, I'll maybe roll up the Hunter and see if I can figure out how to actually play that. But I think Destiny is going to become similar to what WoW is for me, where one, I can't jump properly, and then two, I'm kind of locked as far as what content I'm actually able to get into, where in WoW, most I ever really got into outside of vanilla would have been the heroic instances. Never really had the... While I had the desire, I didn't necessarily have the drive to, and I've said this before, turn it into a part-time job to get other content. And I know they've put in tools like looking for raids since then, but I don't know, kind of burned out on it. And Destiny, there's just not enough content
KELL must be close
for me to really want to. I understand what'll happen is I'll dive into it, I'll have fun while I'm doing it, but much like the heroic strikes that we have now, there's only a handful and they get boring real fast. So I'd rather play through, work on some other characters, and enjoy the time I'm spending, instead of just getting frustrated that I'm not getting drops and having to worry about fights and all the other nonsense that comes with it. Because unlike WoW, where you have set drops that are going to come from specific enemies, Destiny is a lot more RNG. While you may get the same item name, it might have different stats, which vary wildly. In addition to that, you have to grind for the other pieces of gear to go ahead and enhance the items you do have and want. Like, for instance, my Titan, he has a nice set of 280 legendary arms, but I can't use... I've gotten other items that have better stats, but I want to stick with that one. So I end up having to enchant them, but I end up needing the exotic shards to make that happen, and those are extremely rare and hard to come by. don't know. And the other thing, I guess, I'm not necessarily worried. Worried's the wrong word. Tired, maybe, is that with any alt, you're going to have to repeat a lot of the content. In particular, the sparrow racing is great for farming items. Like you can get a 320 helm or enchant up to it, and then you get the nice accessory piece. It's fantastic for players that have characters up to that, but it is a lot of work to get all those items because it's that RNG. When I did the sparrow racing episode a while ago, you know, as I said, you put in a good afternoon, you can get to the S rank, but that doesn't necessarily guarantee you're going to unlock everything with said rank. There's a lot of just chance that happens with it. And it's nice to see things like the legendary. That's going to bother me if I can't think of their names, so we're going to look real quick. Legendary marks carry over from character to character, so essentially you could farm them up on 3 characters and have a crap load to burn when it comes time to actually invest on one character. But a lot of work. You really want to... Like, the biggest issue is there's too many good games that came out this year to really want to devote yourself to just one. Like, there's a whole slew. I have a physical list of, here are the games I really want to buy, I really want to play, but thanks to the responsibility of adulthood and whatnot, it is not going to happen. Like, I was having a conversation earlier about Witcher 3. I'd love to get that game, but am I going to invest the 60 plus hours it's going to take to just clear the main content alone? Most likely not. I mean, gone are the days where I could brag about the 80-hour Final Fantasy VIII save file I had. Otherwise, I did... So each class has inherent advantages to secondary weapons. Like, Titans can carry more ammo for the shotgun, Hunters get a better use out of the sniper rifles, and Warlocks lean more towards the fusion rifle. I think I said last episode that I'm just terrible with them, and I think I'm starting to get it. It's... Essentially, you just hold the trigger and charge up your shot. And it fires a burst, which does a lot of good damage, but there's a hell of a lot of kick to it. So I'm used to lining up my shots and getting the crits that I can, like that there. The fusion rifle, maybe it's just because I'm using it wrong, doesn't allow for that. So I might end up rolling into shotgun use for my Warlock, much like I did my Titan, but without that added bonus of extra ammo. Otherwise, I don't know, I've liked going through the old content with a fresh character. Unlike the end game on my Titan, it feels like I am making progress. Things are being accomplished and they're moving along. That investment versus reward time factor, it's going to go down. It always does. Oops. There we go. Had the fusion rifle out again. I was wondering why I wasn't shooting. I don't know. And So getting it back into like the story content, I told you I had cleared through the Dark Below. I unintentionally cleared through all of that content before I hit 20 in the span of a couple hours yesterday. Had I paid full price for that DLC and not gotten it bundled with the Taken King, I would have been righteously pissed. So I can understand some of the frustration that people had when it came out. The frustration I have now is in like the case of the House of the Wolves, I really, really want some of that Queen's Guard rep so I can get one of their sweet ships. But it ain't gonna happen because Bungie patched out repeatable quests for them, and I've talked about this before. No sense in me going into it again, but point still stands. I want my cool ship. Alright. There's
the KELL.
Oh shit, there's some heavy hitters in here. Kinda wanna clear out these little guys and then we'll fire. Oh, he's gonna force my hand here. So, as you see there, the ultimate ability combined with that fusion rifle, that fight would have been a gigantic pain in the butt with the Titan. But just the raw damage output for the Warlock
Houses usually turn against each other.
makes me wonder why I don't see more of them in the strikes. Even have to use my heavy weapon. Hopefully we got something good for that. I don't expect that we did, though. Shotgun and a glove. Oops, holding X, not Y. So, imagine... Yep, back to the reef. So that was one thing they fix a lot of stuff with Taken King. There's no two ways about that. But the biggest perk is not having to fly back to the tower or the reef to talk to the quest giver and then head back. And they have no issues talking to you from across the galaxy. Or solar system in this case. Why can't they just give me the next step in the quest? I mean, I understand if it's a thing of, hey, we need to hand deliver this to somebody else so they can research the item. But if it's a matter of, hey, you killed this guy? Go kill this guy next. Just tell me. Make it like a shopping list and I'll go through. I'll get the eggs, the milk, the bread. I always like the reef, though. I'm really glad they opened this up as an actual section.
All right. We're looking... We found Skolos once. We can do it again. We just need to identify his next target. I bet I know how we can get started. We have to stop Skolas before...
Supposedly, back in the day, before they patched it out of existence, you could pick up her banner, and it would give you an increased rep reward.
Oh. They don't make these anymore. Back out there,
Holy
Guardian.
cow, all kinds of loot. See, we got anything worthwhile, though? Ooh, it's so close. It's nothing but garbage. But we're level 20. What do you expect? The important thing is that I look pretty again. Hodgepodge of ugly, ugly gear. Although I gotta admit, I'm not a fan of the Warlock's helmets. I would have much liked the Hunter's hoods. Maybe like big ornate crowns and headpieces. But what can you do? Where's our next one taking us? Back to Venus. You know, I think let's see. Yeah, we've got about 40 minutes left. Can we polish off all the House of Wolves in 40 minutes? I think we can if we go fast. On the note of the reef, though, because essentially, story-wise, forgive me if I'm wrong here, but based on my knowledge, it is. We'll let her finish talking.
Been a long time since I was in the field, even if it's just on the comms. The wolves are led by Skolas, the last of their Kells. He wants control of another fallen house, the House of Winter. He'll kill their leaders and take command of their troops. With your help, we'll stop him cold.
So what happened were the Awoken were a group of humans that tried to get away during the initial invasion of the darkness. Something happened.
Feeding me telemetry. I see what he sees. Why not take one of those heavy pikes for a spin?
That there was a big explosion. They got all kinds of mucked up.
Come standard with mines.
Oops.
Not sure how to deploy them though.
You click down on the left stick like I did and nearly blow yourself up. And that's why we have all that wreckage and debris out there, is things got blown up.
The wolves have control of the House of Winter's artillery. Take it out before they dig in.
But what it really reminds me of, the point I'm trying to get back to, if she would quit interrupting me here, is the folks over at Sunrise have seen fit to give us a new Gundam series. So this one's focused on the initial war between the Federation and, oh god, I'm gonna screw it up here because I'm trying to blank on the name, the Zaku. I'll admit I never really watched the original series all that much. I was a bigger fan of 00 and Wing. But it is utterly phenomenal in how it was put together. The animation alone makes it worth watching. It's just top notch. Other series could, oh, I'm gonna blow up here. Could learn a thing or two. But it's probably, the quality itself is probably so high because based on what I read, it's only going to be a 4-episode miniseries, so they can invest having that extra effort and time into animating it. But I think it's definitely worth it. But beyond that, in the first episode alone, and granted, they're only like, you know, your standard half-hour episode, they have bred so much.
Last week I was delivering court messages. Today we're delivering explosions. I love field work. Get after them, Guardian.
She's more gung
The
ho
House
about
of
this than I
Winter
am.
and devils and kings, they hate Skolas. They think he betrayed the Fallen at the Twilight Gap. Your ghost is detecting traces of a stasis field. Skolas was in a pod for years. It might be him.
Oh, fuck me. I remember this mission. This was bad. So, the humanity that they bred into the characters, though, is done primarily through their interactions with one another and the music. There is, and I'm going to be a bit biased here because it's jazz, a phenomenal score that's accompanying it. But the way they integrate it into the rest of the show is that most of the pilots are listening to radios. So they literally have little handheld radios duct taped to the consoles in their Gundams. And, well, only one guy's got a Gundam thus far, but I should say they're mobile suits. And they're drumming along with, their drumsticks and really getting into it, or the Zaku pilots are listening to more of an upbeat pop number while sniping out the Federation soldiers. And the way it transitions from...
Yes. In your tongue, he said.
People keep interrupting me. It's so rude.
Power before the KELL of KELLs.
KELL of KELLs? Did he give himself a promotion?
A fallen legend. He sees himself as a prophet, perhaps. Or he has gone quite mad.
So the music itself will start as a larger score and will set the tone for the scene. Oops. But it then will transition into, like in the first scene, we have the pilot in his mobile suit drumming away, really getting into it, getting jazzed up for the fight that's coming up. And the next scene where we have music, again, it's the opposite side of the fight, listening to music on his own radio. Later we see it in a soldier sitting outside of his bunk, and it sets the tone in a very natural way. Instead of having an orchestral score, which is kind of what we expect doing it, it's actual music that these people would be listening to, and I don't know, it makes it all that much more real and tangible versus, like, Grand Lord of the Rings would be pretty terrible if we had a live band of hobbits marching along beating drums during the big battle scenes. But it's a similar concept. It's what you would expect folks stranded out in the middle of space fighting over scraps of colony ship trying to establish dominance. It's brilliant. I was really taken by the music itself. But it's like I said, where we have the characters' perspectives switching from the Federation over to the Zaku, and it's told in equal measure, that it doesn't feel like one side's the good guy and the other one's the bad, or anything in that regard. It's a matter of there are very clear, valid points to the fight on each end. And it's engaging. It makes me really want to go back and watch the original series and find out, what's the bigger part of this war. I tell you, I probably won't watch it because, again, I'm very shallow and like the pretty things. The animation, it's very much in line with Robotech and Macross, where, I don't know, makes it a little hard for it to watch. But the manga, I'll definitely be picking that up and delving into it, because now that first episode, it pulled me in. It made me want to know everything I could about it. So we have... kind of lost here. Get my bearings for a second. Oh, it's too dark. I can't see where I'm going. Ghost isn't doing anything. Should be holding up a flashlight.
That's the KELL. Take him down, Guardian. And he's gone. That skiff has already broken orbit. No problem, Guardian. We'll get him. There's still plenty of wolves in there. Best clear them out.
But it starts with the Federation and their soldiers getting prepped and building character, and then it switches over to the Zaku in their end. And when we start seeing the casualties come through, it's not, or at least for me, I didn't find myself rooting for one side or the other. It was a matter of wanting to know what happens to the individuals. It didn't really matter what side.
Impressive weaponry. Varix, what is that thing?
SCOURGE cannon. Powerful and very rare indeed.
Jam, what do I got? 4 more shots. And it's not just the soldiers that we're following. In an indirect fashion, we also get to see the lives of other folks on, I don't think they're on a colony, but on these ships where... I'm gonna die here because I'm not paying attention. Ah, this jumping is gonna kill me. Pick a direction and go. Quit running in circles, Christian. But we see the lovers that these pilots have, the professors, the support folks, and we're not given, or I should say, the hand of the viewer isn't held in telling us their exact relationship. It's just a single shot of the dead body of a pilot being pulled from his mobile suit and a woman coming up crying while the guys clearing the body are just trying to do their job. It's poignant. It's to the point. It makes it very clear and understood what's happening, but it allows the viewer to extrapolate in their own mind. You know, what kind of relationship did they have? Was it a one-off thing? Was it something more serious? Or is it because they're out in the middle of space that they are forming closer bonds than they would otherwise? Or maybe I'm just overthinking of it and should really be focusing more on the giant robots hitting each other. But either way, I'm enthralled and can't wait for the remaining 3 episodes to come out. First episode came out on Christmas. As far as official ways to get at it, I'm not sure. Honestly, it just came across in my YouTube feed, and I watched it there. They will be making it available to Western audiences at a later date. Not sure when, but again, if you're eager to get into it, just look up Gundam Thunderbolts on YouTube, and you shouldn't have any issues finding that first episode. The fusion rifle, I almost don't want to zoom in with it because, I don't know, at least I'm more effective by firing from the hip. Jeezy crazy, how many Jagoffs are there? Oh, he's got another Scorcher. I want that. Seven shots. Make them count. The one thing that really had me curious, though, and again, they'll probably cover it in the story, but it adds into that mystique of, tell me more about this world, but you're not holding my hand while we do it. Most of the Zaku pilots have robotic limbs. Why is that? Were they, just lost in the war? It seems plausible,
Strange.
but not entirely likely, because the Federation pilots have all their limbs.
As for you, that was great work. Nice to meet a Guardian that exceeds my expectations. Come back to the reef. Winter now bows to Skolos, and the wolves have just gotten started.
Is it a matter of one side's philosophy thinking that, like Star Fox did something very similar, where the pilots themselves, in order to stay conscious at the higher speeds, had their legs amputated so the blood wouldn't flow down there. It would stay focused more on the torso and up in the head so they wouldn't black out. Is it a similar concept for these pilots? The thing that pokes a hole in that theory for me is that the Zaku that we saw, at least in this field, were stationary. They were on designated sniper platforms. Now, you can't fight a war with all snipers, but why would a band of soldiers who opted for such a surgery be stationed? Thusly, it seems like a waste of resources. So again, probably overthinking it. Should really just focus on the robot-on-robot action, but they've crafted a beautiful world with this one. Makes me wonder, though, are there any decent Gundam games out there? I had one way back when on the PlayStation. It was a 2D fighter. They didn't even spell Gundam on the case right. They had it as Gundam. Oh, it was alright, but it didn't really encapsulate the action or the feel of Gundam.
Need to identify his next target. I bet I know how we can get started.
Hello, outsider.
The closest probably out there would be Dynasty Warriors, and I know they made one of those, but those games get so repetitive.
See what a reef looks solid enough.
And there's games like, Armored Core, but they feel clunky in comparison. Let's see what we got for weapons. Only there. Fancy new footwear. All right.
You have something for me to look at?
Maybe I'll catch a ghost. Take it apart.
where our next adventure is going to take us. Venus? No. Going to Mars? No. Taking King content. Oh. Have to rummage around on Venus. That'd be why I didn't see it. I don't remember how many more quests we have in the House of Wolves Chained. I don't think it was all that long, but I've been surprised before. Where are we at now? Details. We're on 7. We're working our way through.
Just think of all that knowledge locked away in those old outposts.
So,
I'm sorry,
on.
little files. We'll come get you someday.
we're gonna be up this way. But speaking of, goals and making things happen, of course, we have New Year's floating its way around, where the gyms are going to be packed full of large, out-of-shape people trying to get things back on track, and good for them for doing so, but ooh for them hogging up all the equipment and sweating on it and not wiping it down and doing a cross-training regimen that's not really effective and getting in my way. But the important thing is it's establishing those goals and making a point of, I want to better myself. I want to do these things. And we shouldn't really wait for the first of the year to roll around to want to do it. I'm sure, anyone listening to this has at least one or two things that's been nagging at them. Like, I got to get off my ass and get this done. It could be as simple as, I want to be 5 pounds lighter than I was previously. You can go ahead and say, yeah, I want to be 5 pounds lighter, but you have to make it a written goal. State that you want to get this thing done. How are you going to do it? When do you need to get it done by? It has to become tangible. It has to become real. Otherwise, it's going to be something that you put off forever and ever and ever because it's always down the line. You can easily say, oh, yeah, I'm actively working on it, and it just doesn't happen. So set up those points of success where here's what I want to do. Here's how I'm going to do it, and here's when it needs to happen by. And if it's something, like I said, as easy as losing 5 pounds, or if it's getting into bigger life ambitions, like I want to write that great American novel on it. I know I'm being super stereotypical here, but these are valid things. People want to do them. Like myself, I've always wanted to write. And last year, around this time, I did go ahead and make it a goal that I wanted to publish a short story, one every month, and then do a compilation. I wasn't in the right place to do so, where I let myself make too many excuses. I didn't sit down and buckle myself down and do the task I let myself get derailed time and time again. And a year later, I didn't have any short stories. So what I do this year, before 2016 even rolled around, January 1st and all that BS, I got my first short story out. And it was after, you know, strangely enough, the motivation was I had ghost written a piece that it was standard novella length, you know, only 30,000 words, but it gave me that kick in the pants and that motivation that you can do this. You know, you can easily crank out 7,500 words in a day if you really want to sit down and do it. But if you want to give yourself an excuse and, you know, work on some other projects, do at least 2,500 words a day. That's 3 days, and you've got a short story. Review it, throw together some cover art, and get it out there. And so that's what I did. I took that Christmas story that I had been sitting on for 2 years, and I finally got it out. So pick a goal. Pick something you want to do. Write it out. You know, write out the step-by-step process. How are you going to do this? And you don't have to have the answers all right now. Just get that plan together. You know, you don't always have to throw like a ball into a big vortex shield and watch everybody burn alive in it. But it's okay to reach for the stars like that. Because odds are, when you begin working on something, you're going to be a hell of a lot further on it than you were if you didn't have those plans laid out. It's, you know, again, more stereotypical advice here, but it's definitely that first step's going to be the hardest. It's the point of getting off your ass and getting things done. And even if you're hitting, you know, like myself, writer's block or lack of motivation is the biggest killer for me, especially when I'm on a project that I'm not necessarily all that jazzed about. It doesn't personally stoke my interests as much as, you know, like maybe a couple of my own ideas would. But at the end of it, or at least with that first book, I was so happy to have it done. Not necessarily to have it done because it was then out of the way, I wouldn't have to worry about it, because I had that sense of accomplishment, like I did this. And that is one of the greatest feelings, is knowing that you can pour your heart and soul into something and then get that payoff. And that's kind of what this broadcast is, what I'd like to turn it into. You know, I say it's a therapeutic gaming podcast, but it's not so much therapy for others as it is for me, because I do have those issues with severe depression where, you know, even today I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to even do the show. I wanted to just sit on the internet and look at pictures of cats and feel bad about myself, and said, you know, I've set the schedule. I have 1 or 2 people that tune in on a live basis right now. I'm gonna get out there and I'm gonna do this show. And, you know, 45 minutes into it, I'm glad I did. I already feel much better. And it's that thing of pushing yourself and making it happen. So I'm going to renew that goal that I had of at least 1 short story a month. Go ahead, publish an anthology when you have enough. And then I can see more and more of, you know, my actual work. The stuff that's going to carry on long after I'm gone, it's going to be there still. Like the caveman that initially put his shit-covered hand on a wall. My art is going to carry on. And that's what matters most, you know, to me, long term. That's what drives me, is having that legacy. All right, let's see how many of these. Need 4 more. We can do that. So beyond that, you know, like just more examples. So writing's a big thing for me. Another's, you know, losing weight. I'm not fat by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm not at a weight that I'm happy with. I don't look the way I'd like to. So I'm doing something about it. And I have been for the past, you know, month, where put together a regimen, just stick to it. And it's gonna be slow, gradual, but already feel better about myself for doing it. And it's not about waiting for some arbitrary point to roll around and say, this is when I'm going to make this change. It's just choosing. I want to be better for myself. I want to do X, Y, and Z, and then making it happen. So we have, you know, for me, it's the writing, it's getting in better shape. The third thing would be finally learning another language. You know, back in high school, I had taken a couple years worth of Spanish, thinking, you know, it's a nice elective. It gives me a few credits that I need, and it'll probably prove more useful than the only other option we had at the time was French. You know, not a lot of French speakers up in the Midwest, so I opted for Spanish, and admittedly, I was lazy about it. The comparison I make nowadays is I know enough Spanish to sound like a retarded child, where I can get the bare essentials, but that's it. And even then, it's more of a struggle than it's worth. So I picked a new language, and again, much like the writing, I had decided a year ago, this is something I wanted to do. You know, I decided I wanted to learn German. I have German blood in me, and aside from, you know, all that Nazi business, the culture, it was interesting to me. So I decided to go with that. And I picked up Duolingo, which is an utterly phenomenal website and app. I highly, highly recommend it to anybody who wants to learn another language.
Is at your disposal. One of the novices can refit it.
And they allow you to set your own practice regimen, where you can say, I want to do, you know, at least 1 lesson a day, all the way up to, you know, like 4. You don't have to do that many. You just have to meet your certain requirement. And they'll send you those daily reminders. Hey, go out, get this done. And it's good motivation. But I fell out of it. Again, gave myself too many excuses.
We're going up against the Silent Fang? I've been waiting
So now,
for this. I've fought the Fang
again,
before
probably
now. They're tough, but we're tougher. Let's take them on.
3 weeks, a month now I've been doing it. And
For the reef.
it's paying off. I can definitely read it better than I can speak it, but I'm developing something. I'm doing what I want to do to better myself. And that in itself, you know, the practice has to be its own reward. And so that's why you have to develop those routines. They say, you know, if you do something for a month straight, it's going to become a habit, and then you're just going to automatically, instinctively, you know, do it every day. So that's what I do. I wake up, I work out, I learn a little German, and then I start my day. Only when I've accomplished those other things am I, you know, free to go out and do whatever else is on my agenda.
My post as the Queen's emissary, I served her in the Reef Wars. The Silent Fang are assassins, killers, real charmers. During the war, they went after our commanders. They'll do the same to the House of Devils. Verix and I know all their tricks, though. We'll get them.
So a good source of inspiration with that, you know, with setting the goals and making them happen, is Brian Brushwood over at Scam School has a phenomenal YouTube video on it as far as why, you know, resolutions are dumb. And he makes the same points that I did here and extrapolates on them further. So if you're looking for that little extra kick in the pants, go give it a watch. It's, I want to say, under 4 minutes, but it's well worth it.
In the war, I led an attack on the FANG during the Cybele Uprising. We managed to kill or capture most of them. Only reason we won, I think.
I always like this quest that it took you back to the, you know, where you started. But the big detractor for like the House of Wolves content was that it wasn't varied enough for me. It was always a matter of go here, try to kill this person. Hot damn, this Warlock is fun though. Be curious to see how he does in PvP. But I don't know about using this particular subclass in PvP. I want something with... It's that third ability that really pushes me to not want to really... I need to learn how to talk. It's the third ability that stops me from doing PvP right now. I'd probably want to work on another subclass for the PvP. Possibly the new one or that Void Walker.
Vex, why have the devils deployed so many traps?
Devils can detect comm signals as well as we can. They may know the wolves have their scent.
Man, all these traps. Flippin' annoying. Ah, screw beans. That one got me. I'm kind of shocked.
FANG probably helped Skolas escape.
Ghost
But
doesn't give
rumor
any
has it
extra
the Queen
commentary here.
gave him to the Nine. How did the FANG get Skolas past them? We're detecting... Yes. Wolf comms just beyond the wall. That has to be the FANG. Eyes up, Guardian.
Oh, yeah, I remember this fight. Watch my health. Squishier than my Titan. We got this, though. We got this. I can see the perk of the fusion rifle here. At least in having multiple guys. Take out the one guy, take out the guy right behind him. Oh, shit. I'm gonna die. Yep. There's simply too many. And I strayed way too far from cover. So he's gonna deploy over here. Yep, that's where I got in trouble. Yeah, I don't know about this subclass. Want something a little more potent for my big attack. Back over here, you. Oh, screw these guys taking pot shots at me. Oh, I wasn't paying attention to my ammo. Not good, not good. Oh, no more. What am I worried about? Except using the wrong weapon.
That was Commander of the FANG. He just called you a... well... it was an insult.
Make sure I don't walk off the back of the cliff here. Gotta say, For the few environments that this game does have, they are gorgeous. So many of these D-bags. Don't die. I say probably the number one thing that Bloodborne taught me was be patient. Rush, you die. Thinking you're gonna get the kill's not nearly worth the risk of when you know you can get the kill. There's nothing worse than losing all those blood echoes and having to start all over again. Trixie Hobbitses.
Nice work.
Good stuff.
You denied Skoulos the House of Devils. But there's another fallen house on Earth. I'd be willing to bet he's going after the kings next.
I think we wrapped up the most of the House of Wolves content there. So all in all, not a bad night. A lot better than the dicking around that I did last Wednesday on my Titan, trying to figure out what I could do that didn't require a pre-made fire team. So I think we're gonna keep up with the Warlock here. We'll follow him through to the end of the single player content at least. Otherwise, we'll be back 8 p.m. Central Time, the only time zone that matters, on Wednesday. Otherwise, everything involving me, you can always just look up 0 and 09, ZEROAND 09, and you'll find it. The streams then get uploaded to YouTube, so if you want to look there for archival purposes, more than welcome to. Otherwise, if you find any value at all in what it is that I do, please consider becoming a patron over at patreon.com/0and09. Until then, we'll see you next time.